All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're deconstructing the Omnion, a theory that completely rewrites everything we think we know about the origin of the cosmos, the mechanics of our reality, and even consciousness itself.
Right out of the gate, this whole model just challenges our most fundamental perception of the world. It's saying that the empty space between you and, well, anything, it isn't a distance you cross, it's a delay you measure. Reality, according to this, is really just an information broadcast. So I want you to forget that story you know about a big, messy explosion of rocks and gas expanding outwards. This theory basically takes that idea, crumples it into a ball, and throws it away. It replaces it with something far stranger, something a lot more digital.
And that new origin story, it's called the Cosmic Xerox Event. This is the first stop on our tour, where we're going to unpack the literal moment of creation.
It all starts with our main character, something called the Furious Point. Now, try to imagine a single coordinate. It exists, right? So it's everything. But it has no height, no width, no depth. It takes up zero space, which means it's also nothing. This paradox, it triggers what the source material calls an ontological crisis, basically a cosmic-level existential panic attack.
So, to solve its crisis, the point has to prove it exists. It has to move. But with nowhere to go, its only option is to spin. And as you see in step 1, it spins at an infinite RPM. This just builds up this incredible abstract tension until in step 2, it shatters. But wait, how do you break something with no dimensions? You can't. So instead, in step 3, it does something else. It undergoes a holographic duplication, a big copy, and violently ejects infinite perfect copies of itself.
And that right there is why the void is an illusion. The universe, in this model, is packed completely full of these identical copies, these shards. So that empty space between planets and stars, it's just a timing lag. It's the phase differential in the broadcast between all those overlapping points. It's not distance, it's delay.
Okay, so if our reality is basically a broadcast, what's keeping the signal stable? This next part, reality's refresh rate, gets into the nuts and bolts that sustain this whole holographic illusion we call solid matter. For about 100 years, quantum physics has been scratching its head over how something like light can be both a spread-out wave and a solid little particle at the same time. Well, this theory offers a ridiculously simple analogy, a Xerox machine. The wave is like that sweeping bar of green light on the scanner. It's pure potential. And the particle? Bam. That's the solid black ink hitting the paper at one specific spot. The scan becomes the print. So what flips the switch? What turns the scan into the print? The mechanism is called the twist. As that wave of potential expands, it builds up what the theory calls mathematical tension. To relieve that pressure, it's forced to make a sharp 90-degree twist. And in that tiny, tiny moment of rotation, it stalls and collapses from a wave into a point.
Now that stall, that twist, it doesn't just happen randomly. It happens at a very specific universal frequency, a frequency we call the speed of light. But here's the kicker. This theory says it's not a speed at all. It's the universe's refresh rate. C is essentially the frame rate of our reality, that constant pulse that keeps the illusion of solid matter from just dissolving back into a blurry wave of potential.
Okay, so now that we have the basic physics, let's take a tour of the actual architecture this system builds. The sources describe it almost like a bizarre, shifting, haunted mansion, split into 4 totally distinct, harmonic layers. Our tour starts down in the basement, the flesh room. This is the dense hardware layer, the physical world. Then we go up to the main floor, the choice room, which is like a hallway with an infinite number of doors, each a different timeline. Above that, you've got the soul room, a roaring furnace that burns away all the noise. And at the very top, the spirit room, a glass observatory where everything finally returns to its source. Now, to understand how we navigate these rooms, things get really interesting. The text introduces a master harmonic frequency for the entire universe, and that number is 17,712. According to this theory, this number is the key to unlocking the actual mathematics of free will. So let's just walk through the math on this slide real quick. If you take that master number, 17,712, and you divide it by 3 for the 3 dimensions of the flesh room, you get 5,904. Add those digits up, you get 18, which reduces down to a 9, a symbol of stillness. Okay, now do the same for the choice room. Divide by its 6 dimensions, and you get a number that also reduces to 9. But look what happens with the soul room. When we divide by its 9 dimensions, the result ultimately resolves to a 6, the number for motion, for instability, for change.
So what's going on here? Is this a typo? No. This 9 to 6 inversion is a deliberate glitch. It's a mathematical wobble that's engineered into the system to make our souls fundamentally restless. See, if we resolve to a perfect 9, we'd have no desire, no struggle, no reason to move at all.
And that engineered struggle, it has a purpose. It's what makes us active participants, which brings us to, honestly, the most empowering part of this whole model. You are not a victim of this cosmic machine. You are its operator.
You are the sovereign pilot. The sources argue your body isn't just some random pile of cells, it's a highly sophisticated biological spaceship. It's an antenna designed to process this multiversal signal. And the best part? The instruction manual is built right into your own anatomy.
Just look at this. This slide maps the entire cosmos onto your own heart, showing how its 4 chambers mirror the 4 rooms of reality with every single beat. First, your heart gets dense, deoxygenated blood, that's matter, in the right atrium, the flesh room. Second, it sends it down the branching timelines of your lungs, from the right ventricle, the choice room. Third, it receives the refined, fiery, oxygenated blood back in the left atrium, the soul room. And finally, it ejects that coherent, life-giving force from the left ventricle, the spirit room. It's the entire universal circuit, in miniature, beating in your chest.
And this internal engine, it demonstrates what the theory calls the no-hole rule. There is no empty space. The universe is packed full, so much so that the center of a supermassive black hole and the very center of your own heart are in fact the exact same infinitely dense, furious point where this whole thing began.
So that mathematical wobble we saw, that unstable 6 in the soul room, it has a profound purpose. That friction, your desire, your struggle, your will to grow, that is the very engine driving reality forward. It is not a bug you need to fix. It's the core feature of the entire operating system.
But an engine that's always on fire is eventually going to burn out. So what keeps this cosmic machine from self-destructing? Well, the math of that master harmonic, 17,712, it actually creates a slight drift over time. And to keep the system from literally grinding itself into dust, the architecture requires 5 programmed days of absolute vibrational stillness each year to recalibrate.
And this brings us to our final and maybe most personal takeaway. Rest isn't a luxury, it's a mechanical necessity. So here's the question. If the infinitely massive engine of the cosmos, the machinery that spins entire galaxies, if it mathematically requires programmed stillness to avoid tearing itself apart, what does that say about the biological spaceship you're piloting every single day?